again, I'm your host, Edward Anderson. This is just a hangout while I'm kind of, on the road really quick. Let me know what's going on. If y'all got any questions or anything. I ain't got nothing particular to talk about right now. I really don't. And yeah, so we appreciate y'all. I see that video is at 1.15 views so far. I do need to start popping out more uploads. I really want to get to the point where I'm doing like at least one a day, if not two a day, just busting them out, kind of organizing these stuff a little bit better. Yeah, what's up, Emperor? What's up, Lewis? So if y'all got any questions, ask them. Ask me what my thoughts are about various stuff. I know ChatGPT 5 is out, a couple other things. I'm gonna start playing around with OBS. Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to people on Telegram about some things in some private telegrams, and the conversation came up about age of consent and stuff. So I went and looked at the age of consent laws. Shout out to ChatGPT 5, which is a much better model, than the other previous ones, obviously, because it's 5. And it gave me a lot of stuff. It gave me, the age of consent, the Romeo and Juliet laws, for what age, what age. It gave me all the states in a way I could, easily decipher it. And it was everything that I said, because people was arguing back and forth, not in my chat, but people in some of the TikTok videos I saw, they were arguing back and forth, like, what does age of consent mean? And what you have is you have a lot of people that they don't want to have the you have a lot of people that they are so emotionally bent out of shape about certain conversations. And it was actually a video on the Joe Budden podcast that a woman said, and she really broke this down exactly how it needed to be broken down. Not about age of consent, but about emotional people get. There are certain topics that people just don't want to have, and then they just say just having these conversations are a problem. And I think that's fundamentally weak, because they assume what people's intentions are with these conversations. First of all, if things are legal, like, you can have this conversation in the black community, but if things are like, talk this bullshit, but if things are legal, that moral shit is out the fucking window. We live in a country of laws. The moral shit, like, especially with a lot of shit women have actively like let go out the window. I mean, you can miss me with that shit, but the laws need to be changed. Then they need to be changed, and you advocate for those laws. Shit, it's my turn. Let's see. You advocate for those laws to be changed. Hold on one second. Ugh, I fucking hate that. I knew that was the reason I was trying to get in that other lane. God damn it. So you advocate for those laws to be changed. You don't sit there, you advocate for, you don't sit there and be like, oh, I just want to pretend the laws aren't there because because this is so icky, we can't talk about it. I don't know why y'all don't advocate for a universal age of consent is 18 years old, and y'all raise up all the laws. I don't know why feminism doesn't have an active campaign to raise all the age of consent laws to 18 years old. And then you have the Romeo and Juliet laws that account for high school. I personally don't understand why nobody does that. But if you don't know that a lot of states are 16, you wouldn't know that those laws need to be adjusted. And some people would be like, well, the reason why this topic even came up, because somebody went, why you talk a lot about this topic? Well, first of all, because it's really about sexual control. But I watched a TikTok video of a brother that said, if you raise, because, I've often talked about raising the age of consent, like raising the age of consent, you tell me what the age should be, the women, and then you're not going to be able to vote until that age as well. Because if you're saying they can't consent to sex, then they can't consent to picking a president either. If you're too naive and you're not emotionally mature enough to actually select your sexual partners, you can't say no. And you're that easily coerced, then you don't need to be picking voting for federal Congress, any of that. And I don't understand why nobody's challenged me on that yet. nobody's challenged me on that. And he was talking about if you raise what it is to be an adult. One thing that I never thought about, and I got to give this brother credit, is I didn't think about what he said. If you raise the age of consent, let's say you raise the age of consent to like 21. If you raise the age of consent to 21, so now you're pushing 18 is under that number. So the way the age of consent generally works is 13 is like the floor. So no matter how old you are, there's under 13. And I don't want to hear nobody talk about this. These motherfuckers in middle school are doing shit they ain't got no business doing. So I don't want to, y'all kiss my ass with that bullshit. You need to watch your fucking kids. There's under 13, then there's 13 to 17, and then there's 18 and above. That's how the tiers work. That's how it works. And so if you're over 18, the age of consent is what that number is. If the age of consent is not federally 18, it's not universally 18, that's the age to be an adult. The age age of consent is defined as when you legally can consent to sexual contact. That's why they call it statutory R, because it is a statute, and because you cannot consent, it is automatically that. It is automatically R, because by statute, they cannot consent. So for some states it's 18, most of the states it's 16, it's not 18, it's 16. And then the Romeo-Juliet law is very different. Like Utah has the widest gap. Interesting how that works. You think that's unintentional? Utah has the widest gap. North Carolina doesn't have any technically Romeo and Juliet laws, but they have kind of a built-in 4-year law. And so my point is, you need to understand what the laws are to know what needs to be adjusted based on what your issue is with them. See, I'm not here to have the argument of whether they should be changed or not. Personally, I think it should be a 4-year. If you ask me personally what I think it should be universally 18, and then it should be a 4-year Romeo and Juliet clause based on high school and those ages. Because they're all in high school together. And we're not going to do junior high, senior high because y'all want to be stupid. If we got to do junior high, senior high, if you say, oh, well, 18-year-olds shouldn't have access to 14 or 15-year-old freshmen, that's icky. Okay, we're going to have that conversation. That's cool. The conversation's not going to be that. It's going to be, we need to split the genders up. If it's that serious for you all, then we need to split the genders up and start in middle school and then split them up. If we're gonna spend money having a junior high school and a senior high school because you all are that fearful of males, which is bullshit, we're gonna have gender. We're gonna separate the genders. That's what we're gonna do. If that money has to be spent to the point where it's facility, infrastructure, property taxes, that's what we're going to do, because that completely solves that fucking problem. So girls can go with girls and guys can go with guys, as far as and you all will be completely safe. But women never want to do that. Women never want to do that shit. They never want to do that, because women understand that if you separate the boys and the girls, which by the way would be the absolutely safest option for females, but they understand that you'll find that training boys are cheaper, is more profitable, and the gaps between boys and boys is much wider. The best boys versus the worst boys as far as intelligence, but the gaps between the females is relatively the same, meaning it's not as wide. So they don't want that to happen. They don't want that stuff to be exposed. And BTS brought that, which is why they never want to separate the boys in school. This is why they don't like boys' academies funded like that, which is something these women don't never want to talk about. Most of these like women, they're just indoctrinated feminists, meaning they don't know what the fuck feminism is and why it is what it is. They don't ever want to have those conversations, by the way. Because to me, if you're a safety activist, the safest thing for women to protect females would be to separate them from boys. That would be the best thing. What about school uniforms is another thing. But see, women don't want to do that. What's up, Snazzy? Make sure y'all hit up the Cash App. They'll never have had that conversation. They'll never want to have that fucking conversation. So anyway, so my point is, you have to understand the law to understand what the problem is and what the bullshit is. It's true for anything. So so my point is, so when people always talk about, oh, well, you know, they try to play the game of, well, it sounds, you know, they try to insinuate or imply shit, saying you want to do something. Because truth be told, dudes that really want to do that shit, they're not looking at the law. They're just going to fucking do it. I don't know why y'all be playing games like niggas are experts on the law when it comes to stuff like that. Like, people are really trying, because they're not trying to convince you. They're more likely trying to keep it under the table. So, miss me with that bullshit. But, so understanding this stuff, when you understand the tiers of how these laws typically work, and by the way, I just got here. This isn't something I set up. This is something these white dudes set up. Let's stop fucking playing. This is stuff these white dudes set up. This is not, and by the way, it also accounts for other cultures. Black people are usually the least on this. But anyway, so you got those three tiers. You got those three tiers. Under 12, 13 to 17, 18 and up. That's how it works. And within the age of consent, which is at the minimum 16, 17, 17, it's usually 16 or 16, 17 or 18. What that generally means is that the age of consent, because somebody did this. Age of consent means you can do contact no matter what age. That's what that legally means. And if you don't like it, petition your fucking state senators and representatives and governors to change it. Fuck that social, y'all don't believe in shame, but y'all want to shame dudes under the guise of morality. Fuck you. Why don't you shame your daughters? Change it. I'm not saying it shouldn't be changed. I already told you. I think it should be universal 18 with a 4 years for people in high school age. That's what I think should be. I think it should be 18. So people can kiss my ass. But that's what, but this moral thing with just because you think it should be, it's crazy. It's just like people do the same shit. But y'all want to be able, when black women want to have access to white men, but they don't want black men to have access to other races. And y'all put morality on that too. Y'all frame that as being pro-black. Y'all frame that as being moral to your own people. Fuck you with that. That is some gaslighting, like ad hominem bullshit. But these people, notice how they never campaign with their own female politicians to try to get these laws adjusted and changed. They never do that. They never do that. It's never an issue until it's some sexual politicking that needs to happen. Anyway, so age of consent means any age. Now, the Juliet laws is based on, that's where it's a gap law, which is why I always said they want to redefine what Romeo and Juliet laws are. See, this is what it actually means to change the shit. And so you had a lot of people so the dude was talking that if you raise it to 21, then anybody under that age group is now considered a minor. And that could create whole crazier stuff. He was like, yo, so if you raise it to 21, in 20, 19, 18, so you got to create all these like laws. Because at the end of the fucking day, you all want to get around the fact that you trying to lock niggas out of certain dating markets. And it's fucking young people. Y'all upset about Karen J dating a 25-year-old. Or a fiance within marriage. Like, y'all are not honest. That's my issue. Y'all are not honest. Because you know if you were honest, people wouldn't agree with the shit you're talking about. You're not honest. That's my issue. You're not honest on the real issue. I remember when Jessica X tried to really come at me really bad about the Glenn Cameron situation. And I'm like, yo, if you actually look at the the Western European laws that our shit is based on, it's like you not one to talk. What are we talking about? So y'all don't see what's crazy is y'all don't think that y'all think an 18-year-old should be able to put her coochie all on the internet or OnlyFans. An 18-year-old can do porn. So an 18-year-old can make a decision to do porn that is immortalized for the rest of her life. That anybody of any age over 18 can watch that shit. But you don't think that a bitch can make a private decision that somebody may not even know about. I want you to think about that shit. Stop arguing with your fucking feelings. And some of the very bitches that talk the most shit about this shit are some of the very bitches, very bitches that be dealing with older men for money. And rather than calling them women whores and saying they cheating the game because they're a whore, dude, you wanted people to vote for the vice president that literally made her career doing that shit. Kamala Harris was with Willie Brown while he was married. She literally traded her age for corporate and political advancement. And you wanted us to vote for her, validating that shit. You got angry that niggas said, I'm voting for that couch. They want to be mad at Deion Sanders and Carucci. Carucci is 37 years old. She is about a year and a half younger than me. What the fuck are you all on? Y'all just want to regulate niggas. Just say that. Just say that shit. Just be honest. You're just trying to make an excuse because you bitch. If I really wanted to date 18, 19, I would do it. You wouldn't know. I don't need your permission. What the fuck are you talking about? I don't need it to be that. I'm not famous like that. I don't get money out you hoes like that. Hold on one second. And really what it is again, this is sexual politicking. And I'd rather them be honest about that. They don't want to be honest about that. So they're trying to lock you out by creating this stigma, and a lot of bitch ass niggas go along with that shit. Because again, it's just like how it's economically beneficial. SWB has been talking about how it's economically beneficial to coon. It's economically beneficial to pander. These be some of the main niggas doing that too. No, I think Chris Brown is not mad, not at Deion. So if y'all got any questions, ask me, because this is kind of like a free throw stream. But yeah, it's like, yo, but see, when these motherfuckers be having panels where they show their face, they not gonna have those conversations because the women are just gonna fake outrage. Even though a lot of these hoes, if they need $1,000 or $500, they got an old nigga in their comment. If they can't get it out of a niggas that they want, some of them got it. I'm talking about ones that are attractive. They got an old nigga. It may be not a black person, it may be a white person, but they got somebody that they can go to, break glass in case like a payday loan. They just gotta pay with something strange for a little bit of change. I think Shedeur is going to get a chance, especially after that performance. Shout out to Shedeur Sanders. Fuck Cleveland, fuck that owner, fuck that coach, fuck the whole NFL. And I think, you know, the eyeballs on those players has value. The fact he sold jerseys on top of this performance, basically, it's very obvious if Shedeur Sanders would have went undrafted. That's too hard to ignore. They basically had Cleveland pick him up because they didn't want a colluding charge. That's what that was. They didn't want to risk it. They would be too exposed to collusion. For somebody to drop that far, luckily you got Pam Bondi in there. Bondi ain't about to go after Goodell like that. But if you had like a Democrat, they could pick up that case later on. So that's all that was. And it's obvious. Like, Shedeur isn't training. He's not getting the training. He's having to do it on his own. This nigga got damn near remember the Titans fucking back, like the way they playing it. Fucking little dick energy white boys that they so traumatized over Deion Sanders. Y'all are fucking trauma. Y'all are, like, this is the type of shit that makes a lot of white women not be sexually attracted to y'all. Y'all are trauma. You think these white bitches don't see how fuck these old hoes. You think these white bitches don't see how traumatizing that Deion and Shedeur got y'all motherfuckers? It's obvious. That motherfucker, what's his name? Not Dylan Gabriel. Looked like he was about to cry. Shout out to fucking Joe Flacco, too. Joe Flacco was cheesing like a motherfucker. Shout out to Joe Flacco representing the all white men, all white folks saying ain't like that brigade. We saw it. Joe Flacco was, and that's damn near true. I ain't never seen that motherfucker cheesing like that. Joe Flacco always is stoic as hell. He was cheesing with that game. Hell yeah. Kudos to him. I call it all out. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm not about to act like I didn't see that shit. And I saw it on stream, something I won't name. So I saw it live when he was playing well. And fuck you, and look, man, I'm gonna tell you right now, you niggas in Cleveland, y'all should be blowing that fucking team up as far as hitting them up. Like, y'all got, and obviously Deshaun Watson is there. So, I mean, shout out to Deshaun Watson, but unfortunately, Deshaun Watson got another 2 years. Y'all about to be, like, literally, they got a player dropped in their hand. And they on some little dick energy shit. This is why look, as a Chicago fan, this is why Chicago don't do well. Because these are really plantations, man. That's why I don't really sweat the NFL like that. I'm not going to watch the NFL just to be watching the NFL. But Shedeur, I will watch. And I'll never watch the Browns. Fuck that shit. Watching NFL is like watching a whole bunch of plantations. It really is. And they act like it. That's why Stephen A was an asshole for defending Jerry Jones. Can't stand no little dick energy white dudes. Those are some dangerous ass white folks. Straight up. SAP has done a good job covering that. Anyway, so yeah, shout out to Shedeur Sanders. Shout out to all the black quarterbacks. But yeah, man. You don't never hear these bitches talk about age gaps when it's a black woman and a white man. And my thing is, at the end of the day, the market is the market. You all had your youth. Just because you tricked off your youth, you bitches aren't older motherfuckers. Y'all out here letting Tracy Ellis Ross. I fuck young guys. Charlize Theron, but with the dude, man, fuck y'all. Yeah, I hear you, Clutch, but they do the same whole shit in college football, too. They lost their mind with that trade portal, but I'll probably start watching Colorado. I mean, I like Duke. I actually support Duke as well. Yeah, Lamar, all of them. Even though, you know, what you call it on the Eagles. Anyway, y'all, I'll hit y'all back up. I just want to say what's up, get me kind of close to civilization. I may do a video on it. But yeah, peace out, y'all.